Welcome to this Drupal video. This one is about how to add a basic page and get it all the way through the point where you want to publish the page. So we're going to add a basic page. We're going to add content to that page, talk about some formatting choices, and then we'll talk about the process to publish the page. We will along the way include the option of how do you copy and paste content from a different program such as Microsoft Word. So we're going to click on the button for My Workbench. And when we're in My Workbench, we're going to then click on the tab Create Content. There are a variety of different kinds of pages that we can add, but the focus for this video is on Basic Page. So we're going to click on Basic Page, and it will bring a new blank basic page to us. The fields that have asterisks are required fields. So the title is a required field. I've typed in Robin's basic page before, so that's popping up as a populated field for me if I want to use it again. The title is what the user will see on the menu in your website. So although it's editable, you might want to think a little bit about what you want to call that, make it explanatory to the user, so when they're looking at the choices on the menu, they understand what the page represents. The other required field here is Content Group. And although I only have one, default CG, there are, and most departments will have that choice. There are departments that have more than one content group. And so as a result, even though I only have one, it doesn't drop in for me automatically. Every time I create a new basic page, I have to apply the default content group. And content group is just the layout. It's the colors, the fonts, the layout of the page itself, and that's just set by the department. As I mentioned, some departments may have more than one. Then I'm going to click in the body. I'm going to type in some content. Just a little phrase, here's some content. And that's one way to get some content in. The next choice is that you can also copy and paste content from Word. Not only can you type in content, you can copy and paste content from other programs such as Microsoft Word. Somebody sends you an Outlook email, for example, you copy and paste from either of those programs, and it's going to allow you to bring content in without having to type it from scratch. So I have a little Word document created, just has some default text in it, just some placeholder text in it. I'm using Control-C for copy, but you can also right-click and choose copy that way. Now, when I come back to Drupal, I'm not going to simply do the paste, even if you know the keyboard shortcuts. Instead, sometimes the browser has a security setting that won't allow you to paste directly. So Drupal has, for City and County of San Francisco, a couple of built-in buttons that help you paste in content in different ways. One is a clipboard with a T for plain text. If you want to drop off any formatting, you could paste in as plain text. In my case, I'm pasting from Word. I have a little clipboard with a W button. It pops up a little dialog box for me. Then I'm going to use my keyboard shortcut of Control-V or Command-V if you're on the Mac. Then it will paste my content in, and that way we override any of the browser security settings that might be present and not allow us to paste directly. And when I say OK, there's my content that I have here. Now, Drupal is what's called a WYSIWYG interface, meaning what you see is what you get from a formatting perspective. And so if I go to some of my content, like my phrase, my word content here up on the top, I can make this say bold and italic. When I click away from it, it is bold and italic. So very similar to programs like Microsoft Word. What is unique to Drupal, to the web, to the HTML language the web is based on, is that they have what they call heading styles. And that helps you divide content visually on the page into different sections to help it make it easier for the reader of the user of your page to read and understand the content. So heading 2, I actually just made this little phrase called heading 2 so I can show you, I can apply that style. I have here a button called normal, and that has a variety of different kinds of built-in formatting. One of them is the heading styles. There can be up to 6 different heading levels on the page. You don't see a heading 1 because that's what the title is automatically. That's the kind of biggest and boldest on the page, and so that's automatically heading 1. But heading 2, I can apply here. I have my little phrase here, and I have another phrase. I have heading 3 down below this next paragraph. I'm going to apply heading 3. And I don't want you to think it's one to a customer, only one of these heading styles per page. So I have another example that I also called heading 3 that I'm also going to apply that same heading 3 style to as well, to show you that you can apply the same style on more than one location on your page. Once you've got your content in, you've done your formatting in the way that you want to, then what we're going to do is use the outside scroll bar, because you now may have enough content that you can't just scroll within Drupal. That's going to be the content of the page itself. At the bottom of the web page, you will see an option to check the checkbox, provide a menu link, and Drupal then will pick up your basic page title from above, and you get the opportunity to choose what menu you'd like to put this page under in your web page. I'm going to put it under the About Us menu on my web page itself. And when I say save, it's going to go in and save my page and bring me into the page, but it isn't automatically published. As I mentioned, it goes through this review process. So I created my page by adding a basic page or taking an existing page and coming into draft mode on it. Now the next step would be to bring this page into needs review right here. This is a choice that I have. I can apply needs review. After I've applied needs review, depending on the role, some departments have an official editor who then needs to publish the page. Some departments allow individual users to both go through needs review and also publish the page as well. And the purpose of that would be if I had any links, to let me check and make sure that the links worked. If I had any images, that the images looked the way that I wanted them to, whether they were the right size and shape and lined up with the content in the correct way. So really it's all about just allowing me the opportunity to review the content of my page and make sure that it looks the way that I want it to. Mine does, so I'm going to go, I wanted to point out, that's the heading 1, Robin's basic page. I didn't have to say that style. That style got applied automatically because that was the content that I put up in the title text box at the top of the page. Here's my heading 2, here's my heading 3, and my second heading 3 down here at the bottom. So now I'm going to have this needs review state. I'm going to apply that. I'm still not quite all the way done, because again, within some departments, this might now get passed on to another person who has the editor role within the department to actually go through and review content one more time before it's published out onto the website where the public can access the content. In this case, this is all fine, so I'm going to go ahead and say apply, and now my web page is published. This is what it would look like to the user. And more importantly, if I look at my About Us menu, here is my Robin's basic page on that About Us menu as well. It's officially published out to the community if this was to be a public page. It's not, it's a training site. And if I need to go in and make changes after I have published the page or at any point along the way when it's in the needs review state or the draft state, for example, this button will say either, depending on the state, new draft as it does now, or it will say edit draft. So when I click on that, in either case, it brings me into draft mode of my existing page. It's not new draft like new page, it's a new draft of the page. Because now I have a published version. If I go in and make some additional changes, here is more content. And again, I'm going to use my outer scroll bar to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And I'm going to save my changes that I have made. I now have 2 versions of the same page. So I have this version, which is the draft mode version that's got my additional sentence. Here is more content, for example. But I also have, if I go to About Us officially and I scroll down far enough to see my published version of my basic page, when I click on that basic page, it doesn't have that additional paragraph, additional sentence yet. So that's important to realize until you go through the process of applying the needs review state, applying the published state, you do have 2 copies of the page if it's an existing page and you've made a change to it. And that's where you would use my workbench menu and possibly go either look at recent edits. Up here is one way to get into the page itself to walk through that process, or under my drafts or my needs review tabs over here in the upper right of this screen, that would also let me look and see, depending on the state of the page, where things are. And then I would walk through again that process. Thanks for learning how to create a basic page, how to add content from a program such as Microsoft Word or by typing in content, how to apply some basic formatting to that content, and then how to save the draft of the page as part of your menu structure on your website, and then being able to apply the needs review moderation state and the published moderation state.